Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and I hope all of you are having a great day and staying warm, staying dry, because, wow, this cold front, it's pretty crazy. But everyone, I really do hope that you're having a good day, and we can make it a little bit better, because today on the program is the one, is the only, a regular here on the show, a correspondent, Miss Sandy Berger, and she is, of course, our consumer electronics expert, and we have a good show lined up for you where we will be discussing mostly smart speakers, digital assistants, smart assistants, the likes of which from, Google, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, many companies are, of course, trying to navigate these troubled waters, and Sandy is, of course, our captain on this ride. So all that and more here on Computer America in just a moment, but one thing before we get started, and I need to tell you about computeramerica.com. And that's where you'll find everything from any articles, reviews, notes, stories, websites, anything that we talk about here today on the program, we will have in the show notes at computeramerica.com. While you're there, also check out the live video stream, which you can watch Computer America, as well as the social media contest. All that and more right there. And again, just computeramerica.com. Couldn't be easier. So all that and more, why don't we just go ahead and jump right into this? So as I said, today's guest is, if you are a regular listener, should be no stranger, but help me welcome onto the show once again, Sandy Berger. Sandy, how you doing?
Great.
Yeah, and hey, happy that you could join us. I know that you're also in North Carolina here. Man, the weather, it just jumped, from like summer to winter in like 2 weeks. It was crazy.
Right. And on top of that, it's very, very humid, so it feels colder than it actually is.
It's trust me, my dogs are loving it, but man, I didn't even have the firewood stacked up, so I feel unprepared. That's how I feel. But luckily, I have enough Apple devices that are catching on fire. It's going to be okay. But with that being said, before we get started, let's have you tell the nice folks out there, maybe first time listening to one of your segments, talk about your relationship with technology and what you bring to the show here.
Well, I've been in technology for a long time, started off as a computer programmer way back when, and then I started writing about technology, and I just loved writing and bringing to people information on what the latest thing is and how it works and all that. And the best thing about it is that I have a talent to write so that people can understand. So that's why my website is called CompuKiss, for keeping it short and simple. I try to explain to everybody so that they can understand it. Because, Ben, what I hear a lot, people will say, well, I've read some of your stuff, I don't understand it. And I said, well, read it again, and then it will start to absorb. And that's really the truth. Everything will start to absorb after a while. You'll pick it up. So keep reading about technology. Visit
It's
me at my CompuKiss website.
definitely, and we of course have a link to that in the show notes. But I got to say that even with my parents, like I got tired of explaining this one simple concept over and over and over again, how to do this one thing, and eventually she's just like, and I'm talking about my mom, and she's just like, I just don't get that. This is so complicated. But then you just have to realize that you know a lot of the people who have trouble with technology, they're not stupid people. They're just people who, in my experience, just kind of lack the interest to really understand what's going on. They just want it to work and they want it to work immediately, but they don't want to understand how it works. And it's not hard, but it's just that drive. It's just that initiative to say, all right, so it does what? And then go from there.
Well, it's actually not even the problem of not wanting to understand. I think a lot of people do want to understand, but when the explanation starts way above their head, then they can't quite get it. So that's why I try to bring it down to a level that everyone can understand.
Exactly, which is why we like you here, and why I think we can start off with our first conversation. And I probably need to pull up my email again, but I believe you wanted to talk about a new device that you brought into the home, a beautiful bouncing baby Google Hub, I want to say.
That's right, Google Hub. Bouncing Baby is a good way to describe it because this is the first Google device, not from Google, first
Hmm.
device from Google that actually has a screen. So you've heard of the Amazon Echo that has a screen. And I think in a previous show we talked about Lenovo Smart Display,
Hmm.
which has a screen and actually does Google Assistant. So there's a couple things starting to come out there with a screen, and the screen is very useful. But Bouncing Baby, that was perfect because this thing is small. It's got a 7-inch screen. So that means it's not much more than 7 inches across and 5 inches tall. You take it out of the box and you think, is this a toy or is this for real? I mean, it's kind of funny. And yet the device turns out to be for real. It's really a pretty cool device that I'm liking a lot.
So obviously, the idea of a digital assistant, I guess we could start there, which is just talk about in general real quick what either Facebook or Amazon or Google or whatever or Lenovo, what are they trying to accomplish with a digital assistant? Where would this fit into people's lives? Because I believe, as we've talked about before, a lot of people have lived through the age of the internet without ever having to talk to their device. So what are some of the needs that are being filled by getting a digital assistant? Is this like a convenience thing? Is this a cool factor? I mean, why should someone look into getting one of these?
Both of those C words you used are accurate. It's convenient and it's cool. The convenient factor with any voice assistant is that you don't have to go to your computer or don't have to pick up your cell phone or anything to get answers from Google or to get answers from Alexa. You can get the answers right there. It's amazing because you just ask the question and it answers. And so this is the next step in the voice assistants. So the very first voice assistants were just, Google Home, Amazon Alexa, little devices that you talk to. But the new ones have screens. And what the screen does is offers you a lot more depth.
Hmm.
So instead of just hearing what the weather is going to be like for the next week, you can now see on the screen what the weather is going to be like for next week. And you don't have to think, oh, what did she say it was going to be on Monday? What did she say it was? You can see it there on the screen. And there are many, many areas that this is very useful in.
And we can certainly talk about some of those, but one thing that I wanted to point out was that you mentioned that it's a very small screen, and really to kind of put the size into perspective for a lot of people, the latest iPhone 10s Max Jumbo, whatever they call it, That I think is like a 6.5 or 6.7 inch screen. I need to double check that. But so this thing, so this standalone unit that's supposed to sit on your counter and be a fixture is only a fraction of an inch bigger than some devices that you kind of hold in your hand. If screens are so important, why do you think Google didn't really emphasize that, hey, this is a 13-inch screen or an 11 or a 10-inch screen? And do you think it's to keep the price down, or do you think 7 is enough to accomplish what other smart speakers were missing?
It's really amazing because we started off with small screens and then they kept getting bigger and then they get smaller. In other words, everybody's looking for the right size screen for your needs, actually. And you're right, this is not that much bigger than a big cell phone. But what it has to its advantage is because it's so small, the picture is gorgeous. It's a 7-inch LCD screen, and let's see, it's something like 1024 by 600. Where the Lenovo screen that I have is 1920 by 1200. So doesn't have the detail, but because the screen is so small, it's absolutely got a beautiful picture. And I think what Google was trying to do here is give people another option. They want you to have these devices throughout your home. I already do. I'm one of their prime targets. But basically, this is a device that fits very well into a lot of rooms because it's so small. Now, one thing that these devices with the screens are they're great for doing recipes. You just ask them for a recipe, they'll show it to you, they'll walk you through it step by step, so they're perfect for the kitchen. But in the kitchen, I like the 10-inch Lenovo, which is much larger and you can see from across the room. The 7-inch still does the same thing, so you can use it in the kitchen. You're just going to probably take it a little closer to where you're working. But the thing about this device is that it also fits in the bedroom. I would not bring a 10-inch screen into the bedroom. And they have actually made this kind of so that it fits very well into the bedroom. It's got automatic dimming so that if you just want to see the clock at night, that's all you have to see. It also has the ability to not be as invasive since it has no camera.
Right. That's and I believe that argument's going to come into play when we talk about the Facebook portal in a little bit. But I guess that's I was just having a conversation before the show with a friend, and some of them mentioned that they have maybe some of the other Google products, and we'll talk about how how maybe they integrate with the Google Hub, but there's still that factor. Some people are still behind the idea that if you get one of these devices, you are allowing a third party into your home, and not just kind of once, but it's a constant monitoring, or it's capable of being a constant monitoring device. But again, you have been invested in this for quite a while. You have lived with it. I mean, do you kind of get over that feeling? Is it just something new and scary, so you don't want to, or are you still kind of guarded with what you talk about?
I think for the most part, if you have confidence in the company behind it, then you're trusting that a lot of people have looked at this device and that it is only recording when you call its name, and for a few seconds after that. But the idea that you would put a device that with a camera in your bedroom, that is still a little bit that, even if it might have a shutter that you could close, I think people are, a little shakier on something like that. So that's why they saved some money, obviously, by not putting a camera in. But I think they're hitting a target audience of somebody who would be willing to take this into their bedroom and not feel like it was invasive. And that's the bottom line here. It's small, it's cute,
and of course, so what do you miss out when you don't have a camera? Because like I said, Facebook portal, they are trying to position that in the market, not even just as a smart speaker, but as a way to video call people in a way to, I guess, kind of pseudo socialize within your home. And without a camera, Google's not even trying. Google's not even trying to do that. They're not even trying to imagine a world where, let's see, their product is Hangouts, that you're going to use Google Hangouts and make video calls to friends. Do you think that's a missed opportunity, or do you think people have smartphones for that?
I think a lot of people will not miss that at all. And there will be a time when these devices will be in different rooms of the house. So my Lenovo Smart Display is in the kitchen. I can do video calling through Google Duo on that. And the smaller one, which I'll keep in the bedroom or the den or someplace like that, you can't do video calling, but you can still make phone calls. So you can say, Google, call such and such a number, or call somebody from your contact list, and you can still do audio calls, which, by the way, is great for finding your phone.
Right.
Yeah.
I completely believe it. So we have the hub now. It's certainly a video. I'm sorry. It's certainly a screen in the lineup of Google. Let's talk about these products kind of as a whole. We have an article here from The Verge talking about Google Assistant smart home broadcasts. Well, actually, it's talking about the ecosystem as a whole and what Google is trying to put forward as, I guess, kind of the end result of all this, because it's not so much about like Amazon. It's not so much about being able to order dog food on the fly. It might be for Amazon, but for Google, it's about connecting your life to a digital lifestyle that is controlled or at least handled by Google. What do you think is the end result of the Google Home ecosystem, including the hub, including the mini speakers, including, let's say, the Nest thermostat, because that's part of Google as well? All these smart devices. Where do you see this going?
I think there's going to be more and more connectivity in the future. There's just little doubt about it, because once you have one of these devices, you realize all the things that it can do, and the devices with the screens are like more useful than the devices without the screens. So, for instance, if you want to say there's an animal like a peacock, you don't remember what a peacock looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You just go up to this device and say, show me an image of a peacock, and you'll get the image right there. So having a screen actually increases the things that you can do with it. So basically, Google's trying to get through your whole home. And this device, I should mention a couple things about it. First, it's $149, and it's going to be on sale, folks, for Black Friday. So watch out for that. I mean, they're all going to be on sale for Black Friday.
Oh, for sure.
But the other thing that I wanted to mention to this is the screen is so good that I've had a couple people come in, look at it, and think that I had a picture up on on an angle, propped up on my desk.
Right.
It looks like a photograph, and that makes it a great slideshow presenter, which Amazon. The Echo devices, the Amazon Show, and the smaller one that actually has a screen, they can also do a slideshow. But if you use Google Photos, it is tremendously easy. If you use Amazon, you have to put all your photos into Amazon to get them up on the slideshow.
And by the way, it's Alexa, and I'm sorry, it's the Echo Show and the Echo Spot, I believe, is the smaller one.
That's right. That's the smaller one. And, you just choose, in other words, you go into Google Photos, and most people have their things already into albums. But if you don't, you just put them into an album, and then you tell the Google Home Hub device or any Google Home device with a screen what album you want to play. So you want to look at your photographs from last year's vacation, you can do it. You want to look at your animals or your family or whatever, you can just have a slideshow presented automatically, which is really, really nice. You can even say, show me all the pictures of Sandy Berger, and if you have in your Google Photos, you have Sandy recognized, it will show you all the pictures that it's taken of you.
These
It's
things,
amazing.
I mean, obviously, these things are going to get better and better. I'm sure that if you, invest now, because I remember last year they said that one of the best-selling products on the market were some of the Amazon smart speakers. Because they have them deeply discounted, and of course, everyone
Right.
shops at Amazon. Uh,
Right.
uh, so I guess my question to you is that after you have lived with them for a little while, and I remember you having one of the first ones, and it's become so much more since then. But do you think people who invested last year are going to be interested in either upgrading or even buying additional units? Because that may slow down the adoption rate, is if there's really not that much advantage to having multiple units.
Well, there is a big advantage to having multiple units. Whether you're in the Amazon ecosystem or the Google ecosystem, it doesn't really matter which one, but they can now play audio. You can play music throughout the house. So if you have one of these in every room, and at 25 or $50 a throw, they're not that expensive to have in every room. You can have whole house music. I remember a time when you had to buy a device and you had to set it up, and it was really terribly difficult and somewhat expensive to do whole house music.
Right.
So that's the first thing that you can do. The other thing is you can broadcast information throughout the house. So if you want to say, Google broadcast dinner's ready, and they'll send it out to every device in the home. So you're not really upgrading your devices. That's the beauty of both Google Home and Amazon Alexa. The devices upgrade themselves. They can do more today than they could do yesterday, more than they could do last year. Doesn't cost you a penny to have all those things. In other words, you could not, a year ago, you couldn't make phone calls with these devices, but now you can. And you can do it on your old device that you bought a year ago or you bought 2 years ago. So you're not stuck with upgrading, but you are encouraged to buy multiple devices to have throughout the house. That's where they're making their money, and it's really a smart move.
So, and like you said, things are going to become more connected in the future. We're not just talking about smart speakers or even lighting, but this article that I found here started talking about things like obviously doorbells, and that's where a screen could come in. I'm assuming that the Google Hub is going to work with, let's say, a Ring doorbell, and you can
Right.
see your doorbell from your so.
Right.
Things like that, security, baby monitors, so on and so forth. But there's going to be things like, like I said, like Roombas and doorbells. Do you think that a smart speaker is, I don't want to say necessary because I know it's not necessary, but recommended if you are going to start having more of these devices? Because you could do it from a smartphone. There's no doubt about that. But just a digital assistant that can control these devices, your lights, your music, your front door. Would you recommend it?
Definitely. I definitely would. Because controlling things from your smartphone is great, but your smartphone gets left on the table, in your pocket. You don't know exactly where it is sometimes. These devices are stable. They're basically in the same spot most of the time. And so therefore you know where they're at. You can go in and you can control things. And the control on these Google Home Hub is absolutely excellent, because you can see all the devices. You just scroll down from the top and you can see all the devices that you have in your home, and you can control them. So if you have colored hue light bulbs,
Mm-hmm.
you can not only change the color through your voice, but you can change the color on screen. So you see the color. What color do I want? And you get to choose the color and the brightness. And there's a little scroll screen that you can turn it, press it and turn it on, turn it off, up the brightness. You can do that with your finger on the touch screen on this device. Very, very useful. You get in bed at night, you have one of these on your nightstand. You can, of course, just say, Google, turn all the lights off. But you could also control all the lights one by one with your finger if you so decide that's what you want to do. It's very, very useful. One other thing to mention is that I have a lot of older people who use these devices and love these devices for companionship.
Mm.
Okay. So I have one fellow that absolutely loves the Amazon Echo device because it's got a nice feminine voice, and he feels like he's got a girlfriend in the house, and he's told me that. But
I like that. It's cute.
you might laugh at it, but for someone who lives alone, it can be a device that they can actually talk to, and now you can converse with them. So Google has just added, and Amazon already has, a conversation mode,
Yeah.
so that if you say, "What's the weather today?" you don't have to say the keyword again. You don't have to say, "Google, what's the weather tomorrow?" You just go ahead and say, "And what's the weather tomorrow?" And she or he will tell you, because Google also has male voices,
Right.
which is something that Amazon does not have.
Right. And no, I completely understand. Stupid me. I feel when I lived alone, I felt that silence with dogs, and they talk back a lot less than smart speakers. So I completely get that, and I can definitely see and really, especially for people who do live alone, and as they start to get older, you can see where, checking, let's say you have smart locks and saying, is the front door unlocked, which I'm sure one of the smart lock companies has the ability to, but if you can, do basic security things and basic mobility things through a smart
Right.
speaker, that's you can start to see where this is going to be an idea, not just for now or into the future, but for long into the future. As I said, this article really gave it that way. And something I wanted to ask you about, because the Google Pixel phone has not been the highlight of a lot of people's reviews. It's for a couple of years now, it's been either Apple or Samsung. When you talk about the big flagship phones, sometimes you get like the OnePlus phone, sometimes you get some other phones, but the Pixel has been around and it continues to be a thing. Do you think that as people get more interested in Google and the Google ecosystem, maybe they'll look into the Pixel to kind of, more closely knit themselves there?
I don't think that that's going to pour over into the Pixel. I think the Pixel phone, the new ones look great. Now, I haven't reviewed one yet,
Right.
but they look like they're great phones. But whether it's just a question of people don't know about the phone, or they're already baked into Apple or Android,
Yeah.
they're not willing to, at least older people for sure, are not willing to want to learn a new ecosystem for the phone, or a new system for the phone.
Well, luckily, Android is kind of Google, so
It is, but each phone is different, as you know.
yeah, forever.
So that's, I don't think it's, they need to, if they want that Pixel phone to really be a good seller, I think they have to promote it more than they already are, and maybe they will in the future. You never know. When you buy into one of these ecosystems, the one thing that not everybody understands is they can live together. In other words, I have my Google right next to my Amazon Echo, and I can ask one a question, I can ask the other a question. They're both connected to my Wi-Fi network, but they work independently, and they both can control all the devices in my house. Now, Amazon does have the edge in that they can control a few more devices than Google,
Right.
but Google's coming right up with getting up to that. One thing that's better or easier on the Amazon devices is that they have skills, and they have like thousands of skills now. So if you want to talk to Food Network or different areas of expertise, you can do that through the skills. Google has actions, which almost everything that, or a lot of things that Amazon can do, Google can do, but there's no place that you can actually go to see all the things that they can do. So that's lagging behind a little bit. I think that's where Amazon, I'm getting mixed up. That's where Google could make things a little bit better for them, and they do keep getting better. Now, this new hub that I'm looking at does not do Netflix, but it can do YouTube beautifully, which the Amazon devices can't. So basically, if you buy a certain device because it can do something the other can't do, that doesn't lock you out of going to the other ecosystem and having one of those. Amazon Echoes are excellent at reading audiobooks and any books that you buy from Amazon. It's easy to buy books there, easy to go to Audible to buy audiobooks, and very easy to play it on your Amazon device. You can play books on Google, but it's a little bit more complicated.
So, and of course, we're about to run headfirst into the break here. This hour is flying by, but I will say that the price point that you mentioned, I think you said like 150 for the hub, and it's going to be on sale a little bit more. Compare that to about 230, I think, for the Amazon equivalent. They obviously hit a completely different price point and a different target. So everyone, we'll be right back. More Sandy Berger, more Computer America, more CompuKiss. Everyone, stay tuned.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And everyone, if you missed any part of today's program, please check out the podcast version of Computer America, where it's simply today's show, rebroadcast, and maybe a little bit extra, if we run over. But yeah, hey, it's just another way to enjoy the show and what we do here. And you can find that wherever podcasts are heard, or of course at our website. So that being said, Sandy Berger, CompuKiss, continues on with us as we are talking about, really Google Hub or at least the Google Home Hub and the Google ecosystem and how it compares to some of the others. And, Sandy, you gave a great list of, kind of which one, because they all have, certain things that they do better. Really, you can look at if people pay attention, they could look at the background of these companies to really see where they would shine, such as ebooks and things like that, and answering questions for Google. Why don't we go ahead and switch? Actually, I want to bring up this one story. I'm going to send it to you right about now, and it's not really a story. It's actually a shop that sells a certain type of Amazon device. And these devices, you can find them at Grain Shop, so gra.in, and they make a certain type of Alexa device. And we're going to talk about this, and then we're going to move on to the portal. But I just wanted to show that what we consider a smart speaker, people are trying different things. People are trying very, very weird things. So we're going to throw a picture of it up on the video portion. And for everyone just listening, this shop sells 3 different devices, each of them looking like a different style of telephone. And, you can think of the old antique rotary phones and the phones that even further back used to hang. You had to hold up the earpiece and speak into it like a microphone. All these old looking devices are actually custom made $1,500. I don't know how well they're going to sell, but they're $1,500 Alexa devices. So you pick it up, you spin, you dial it on the rotary, and you can talk to Alexa and give Alexa commands, and then hang up on Alexa so that she cannot hear. What do you think about that?
I think it's an interesting idea. There are a lot of interesting ideas out there. And I think that the reason that both Google and Amazon have become so successful in this area of voice assistance is that they have opened it up to other developers to not only do apps or skills, but to also do hardware. As we were talking earlier, the Lenovo is a hardware company, and yet it has Google built in. All the televisions are having Google or Amazon built in. Cars are the same thing. So it's not surprising to see enterprising people come up with new ideas. Certainly, even if these were $200, I probably wouldn't buy one.
Yeah.
But it's got a unique quality that some people would love to have. And that's the thing about these devices, is that certain devices fit certain people and certain people's needs better than others. Now, I see that these devices are going to be everywhere. One other thing that I see in the future is that they're going to become standalone televisions. At least that's my opinion. Right now, this little hub can do, it cannot do Netflix yet. I'm sure that Google's going to get there. But it can do Hulu. It can do other apps that, you can watch TV on. The Amazon Echo show is the same thing. You can watch Amazon on it and other things. So I think people are watching TV on different devices. It wouldn't surprise me that size would come into it again, and they would start getting bigger so that you could, have the TV, and we already have TVs with them built in. It's interesting.
I mean, that's and that, of course, really did make me think, because there are a couple ways, like a lot of our technology has mimicked, kind of what we have seen in pop culture. So one of the first, I guess, kind of mods, or even one of the first apps for the old iPhone, the original iPhone, was something to make the iPhone look like a tricorder from Star Trek.
Right.
And we have seen, people, trying to recreate kind of the Rosie-esque from the Jetsons. I mean, I think you have to look at what people are expecting from, at least kind of grew up with and expect things from technology. And I feel like it's going to really start to evolve there. So I don't think televisions is the end result of these smart devices. I think televisions are going to be smart devices, but
Right.
I don't even think smartphones are going to be it. I think it's going to be some kind of either an omnipresent kind of deal where, you just kind of walk around your house and everything is, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, everything is listening and you can interact with it seamlessly. Or it's going to be something of a companion bot, either like a little robot that follows you around, or something, or another entity that will, you mentioned that gentleman who, kind of treats Alexa as, just another person in the house. What if you had a little robot, that we've seen coming out, follow you from room to room, or be at your beck and call within earshot? And, I expect these to kind of essentially take on a life of their own, for them to be intelligent enough that you communicate, and then, it's going to integrate with TVs, toasters, doors, and everything else in between. But I really do feel like they're becoming entities. And yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the whole reason that this has happened is because we developed sensors that could do various things, got terribly cheap.
Hmm.
Sensors have been around for a while. About a few years ago, they started getting smaller and smaller and cheaper, and that's what allowed the Amazon Echo and the Google Home to
Yeah.
come into play. And now they can have sensors, obviously, in everything. So you could have sensors, little sensors that hang on the wall, sensors that tell what kind of mood you're in. So, these devices at some point in time might be so smart that you'd come home and they'd say, oh, my sensors tell me that Sandy's not in a very good mood. And so then they would say something like, would you like to watch a comedy on Netflix tonight, Sandy?
Hmm.
They're going to become that interactive. It's all based on how many sensors they have and what kind of things
Well,
develop,
yeah.
you know.
I think about 2 weeks ago we did an interview. I still need to put it up. I might just just call it quits and just put it up on Computer America as its own special segment. Because we're booked out quite a ways. But 2 weeks ago we interviewed IBM, and IBM is working diligently. We talked with the researcher about. Really, they're trying to sell it. They're going to make money off of this thing by selling it to companies who do automated phone trees, and it's going to be able to not just take your text and convert it, or I'm sorry, take your speech and convert it to text, but it's also going to be able to recognize intonation if you're short, if you're angry, if you're upset, if you're tired, and they're going to factor that into the response. So, IBM research is a couple of years away from having artificial intelligence understand what you're saying. Saying
Right.
fine as opposed to fine. Those are two different ways of saying the same thing, and computers are going to understand that. That's coming.
That's right. No, you're absolutely right, and that's very interesting because that's the way it's going. Was it Amazon or Google? I think Google just learned how to whisper,
Really,
to understand whispering.
I like that.
Now, okay, so they realize that sometimes the baby's sleeping or your husband's sleeping and you want to say something, you want to use the audio, but so now you can whisper to them and they will whisper back. That enabling that one idea is amazing because whispering is totally different than talking.
Hmm.
The amount of air that comes from and to your mouth is entirely different. So that they could do that is another step forward toward what you're talking about, that they'll be able to understand what type of mood you're in, what do you really mean when you say something.
It's a very human way to communicate. Something that technology, when you think about it, is either on or off, or works or doesn't. And now it's giving context. And I think with that, we can of course transition this conversation into, again, why maybe people are a little upset with the Facebook portal. And this was again a device that Facebook has I feel like they put it out there, but then they really didn't advertise it. Like, I've even asked people, have you heard of the Facebook portal? And they said no. I'm lost as to why they put this out there, but at the same time, it's Facebook. It is Facebook's way of making a device to connect people, and either to Facebook itself or to other people who use Facebook. What do you think about this thing? Because, as I said, it's currently, I feel like, living in limbo. They could kill it and no one would be sad, or they could keep trying to push it and maybe it will get purchased in the market.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's tell people what the portal is.
Sure.
It is the Google Home Hub, like the Lenovo Smart Screen. It is a device that has an assistant built in, and it also has a screen. But the main thing that these devices were made for is communicating with others. So you can not only call from portal to portal, you can put a conference call with, I think there's 8 portals together. And it's just a great idea, and the implementation is good because the camera actually follows you through the room. So if you want to show somebody how to do a dance step, it will follow you as you go, which I have not seen it yet. I'm not going to ever have one in my home. And I think a lot of people feel like that because Facebook has let us down. I mean, all these hacking things and all the information that they're gathering on you and selling to other people. Um, it's just a bad, when you talk about when it's coming out, that's very bad timing. But you've got to realize, Ben, that they've probably been working on these devices for years, and they got it to the point of coming out. They've invested a lot of money into it. So they brought these out. There's two portals, a smaller one and a larger one, and they're quite a bit more expensive. $199 for the smaller one, but the bigger one, it goes up to $349, which is more expensive than any of the other devices with screens.
But like elements of this are so like. I just realized this one here. Camera and Smart Sound. They have a button on top that you can press to turn off the camera and the microphone. Now, the problem though is that I don't know if this is Facebook being seedy, but I'm just going to ask you as as my current audience. But you will be a surrogate for everyone out there listening. Sandy, what does it mean when you have an electronic device in front of you and the little red light is on? What does that mean for the camera and the microphone?
Well, basically, it means it's on, but you can, in some cases, you can just cover it up.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
But here's the problem. For Facebook and their design, the red light means that everything is muted and the camera is off. It is reverse what people would expect. I don't know if that's, see, it's little things like that that make me think that, is this trickery on Facebook's part, hoping that people think that if the light's not on, then they're not being recorded when they are? It's so, because now you're right. I do question Facebook's motive. I question their capability of keeping me safe.
Have you ever looked at all the things that Facebook takes from that has about you? The information that's stored?
That's something that I think people don't realize, is that you can actually send a request to a specific part of Facebook and they will send you everything, and you better be ready to receive hundreds, if not thousands of pages.
That's right. I mean, it's unbelievable because they have your face recognition. They have all your friends' names and information about you that you've given to other people, and they keep all that. And because of all the hacking and the quality of the Facebook people that we have seen recently in the news, basically, I can't see that anybody would want to have one of these portal devices in their home.
Yeah, and they and they even try to compensate here. Private by design. You can have little things to slip over the camera, but the microphone still stays active. I see why Facebook is doing it, because they are in the business of getting you talking with your friends and family, because their product is not some mobile game. Their product is not like Netflix and that you stream service. Their business is you sharing your information with your friends, and they get to harvest everything that you two say between each other. It's unfortunately, it's just not the right time, I think. And I guess after the recent revelations, I don't know if there will ever be a correct time for Facebook to release something like this.
I agree with you completely, and yet I guess they came out with it because they had it and they could. And they'll have certain people that will be excited to be able to talk to 8 of their friends at one time. So they'll just like every one of these other devices, there'll be an audience that will love something about it. Okay, how big their audience is going to be the question.
So here's the thing. Like in the tech world, I think for geeky people like no offense, like yourself and myself, we are hesitant. That's obvious. I think for people who are not in the tech world, they don't know about this. They don't know anything about Google,
right.
or I'm sorry, they don't know anything about Facebook Portal to begin with. Maybe this could be something that they're marketing overseas, and we're just not overseas to really take note of this, because Facebook does have a lot of growth potential and a lot of user adoption in places like India and places that are just now getting smart devices.
Sure.
Maybe it's for them and not for us.
Well, I don't know. Only time will tell, I guess. if they're still around in a year from now with the portal, if they sell well or they don't.
Yep.
But I don't believe that they could possibly be selling that well. That's my own opinion.
Okay, so there's that, and obviously digital assistant. It again goes to show that it's not. There's no silver bullet. It's not like, hey, we built a digital assistant and it's going to take off. You have to do it right, and I guess in your opinion, Echo, Amazon Echo, and Google Home ecosystems, those are ways to do it right. Like, find a niche,
Well,
build a niche.
yeah, and they do at least support a certain amount of privacy, like this Google Home Hub that's come out without a camera. So they're not trying to just take your picture and sell it to somebody. That is what Facebook is doing. Facebook is trying to take your data and sell it and, collect it and all that. And so, the devices that like the Echo and the Google Home, people have taken them apart and looked at them carefully and said just how long they're recording things and what they're recording and what they're doing. And I have a lot of faith in people like that. I also have a certain amount of faith in Amazon and Google, but I have no faith at all in Facebook.
So I think this is a good way to kind of branch off into a very similar but different conversation. I think we've talked about it last month maybe, but more and more cars are going to be coming out with not just, screens built into the dashboard or anything like that, but smart speakers. Digital assistants are coming to cars. I think Mercedes has their own unique one. I think places like GM are partnering with Amazon, but essentially what you see available to the home is going to be available in people's cars. And I bring this up because there was an article recently from CBS News where we talk about data and how important it is. And, I think most people, if you use the internet, you've given into the beast somewhat. You've become comfortable with the idea that it's okay for Google to know that I'm looking for drapes. And we all know Google will probably serve you ads for drapes if you do that. But we're now heading into a day and age where, and reading directly from the article here, car companies are going to be collecting your data, and not just and not just usage patterns, but they're going to be collecting where you go, how often you drive, what places you drive by, what places you are more likely to stop at. So they'll know if they serve you. Let's say you need gas, they'll point you to your local, Shell gas station, whatever. They'll give you a coupon for that, or they'll send you to McDonald's if you're hungry, or whatever hotel chain if you're tired. We're also heading into that future. Digital assistants in other places besides the home, and again, maybe a little bit of the privacy conversation. Just kind of a natural evolution, to the car, to the workplace.
Well, yeah, it is a natural evolution, and all of this is based on one thing. We get our convenience and we give up some privacy. And that's how it all works, and that's why most people have already given up a lot of their privacy for the convenience that we're getting. What we have to try to do is control these companies like Facebook, who are gathering all this information. And voice assistants, yes, they're going to be in cars, but cars are already having built-in GPSs. And are they actually looking at where you're going, or keeping all that information?
They will, yes. They're keeping it, and not only within the car, but they are sending it back to the car manufacturer. And the car manufacturer, and that's really was the point of the article, was that car manufacturers, it's kind of like when smart speakers or Google first came onto the scene, there was no regulation against it. So, your car with these digital assistants and just more intelligence are going to siphon data like crazy. That's the point.
I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't even take a car with a digital assistant to do that.
That's true.
It's just the cars that have the built-in GPS and all that. They can be doing that already.
Things like OnStar were already doing it. That's for sure.
Right. So again, something that I wish the governments would regulate a little bit more. But to tell you the truth, This whole thing gets so complex that, we're electing senators and representatives right now, or we have just elected some. And how much do these folks know about technology? How much do they really understand? Um, it's a complex thing. I've been studying it for my whole life, and I still don't understand everything.
And then these
Or
senators or politicians or the people who we ask to legislate also have to worry about the environment, gun control, blah, blah, like infinite number of other topics, and
that's
technology
right.
is a blip.
That's right. And it's not a blip. That's what they have to realize, that it is the future. And if they could put the emphasis on it the way they should, but as you say, they're dealing with 100 other things,
Yeah.
and we're electing people because they might be a celebrity. How many celebrities have already been elected just because people knew their names?
Yeah.
So, it's a tough situation right now. The transition we're in, I think, is extremely tough for regulation and everything else, for how much privacy we're actually going to give up.
We have certainly seen some moves coming from other places, i.e. Europe with the GDPR, I think, just the general data protection, and the idea that people have a right to the data that is pulled from them. People have a right to control what companies keep that and things like that. But I will say that in these last 4 minutes, we can talk about one more celebrity that kind of was, and this is going to be a nice cherry on top. Sandy, I don't know if you heard about this, but for everyone else out there, Cortana's redesign is now available for the iOS, and it came out for Microsoft and some of the others. Let's see, I think it will be given that Microsoft Surface headphones, whatever. So essentially, last month went into beta, Cortana as a unit. As far as I recall, maybe about a week ago, Microsoft came out and said, Cortana is no longer going to be front and center. That's what Windows 10 was trying to be, was that Cortana was going to be the Alexa, the Siri, the whatever of the Windows 10 platform. Not anymore.
Okay.
They've essentially said Cortana is the search function and the brains behind Windows, but you will not be interacting with Cortana. You will be interacting with Windows 10, and Cortana will be what helps you get things done. How do you feel about Cortana's just kind of not clicking, but still being in the background?
Well, the one thing I do remember is how late Microsoft was in getting into the internet. There are a lot of people that thought that they would never make it just because they had lagged behind and behind. So they're trying to do something to keep up with the voice assistant type idea. And whether it's going to work or not is something yet to be proven.
Yeah, and obviously we're gonna have a link to this in the show notes. There's a couple of updates. They said that despite the fact that Cortana's functionality lags behind the competition, Microsoft still clearly sees the voice assistant both an important component and a means of linking its own services to competing voice assistants. Because I think they came out with it a couple of months ago, but they made a pretty big deal that Cortana works with Google and with Amazon. Like they now essentially kind of talk to each other to get things done. So that's something.
Yeah. And believe it or not, these devices can talk to each other. I had Google Home in one room and Amazon in the other room, and because I had the conversational thing enabled, so they listen not just for their name, but they listen for a few seconds after you say something so that you can say something else. And the one in the kitchen heard the one in the living room and answered her. Said, I don't think I know that. I don't understand that.
So now, so not only can they talk to each other in the kind of technology to technology ecosystem sense, but they can physically talk in our language to each other. That's wow, that might literally be like putting two cats in a bag and shaking them up if you get them too close to one another. But I will say, I apologize for talking so fast there, but Sandy, we're flat out of time.
Oh, okay.
I know the hour flew on by, and I want to thank you so much for kind of joining us here and giving us an update on smart speakers. Obviously, with the holiday buying season coming up, why don't you let's see, I don't know your availability for next month, but I will say next time you're on, Black Friday will have come and gone. Let's give you like 30 seconds. Talk about if people want to buy some of these, what would you recommend?
Amazon, of course, is going to have a lot of their products on sale for Black Friday. But I see sales at Best Buy for like they've already come out with their ads. So the Google Home Hub is going to be on sale for $99. I've seen Walmart recently with some Lenovo prices. The 8-inch Lenovo was $99 instead of $199. So I just say keep your eyes peeled for pre-Black Friday, which we're into right now. It's a question of what you can get for what price. Obviously, some deals are going to be good and some are not so hot. Right. But you can get some deals on, especially on these devices.
There you have it. So, Sandy, until next month, and thank you so much for coming on. Again, I hope that you're staying dry, you're staying warm, and looking forward to having you back on.
All right. See you next time.
And everyone, once again, CompuKiss.com. Link to it in the show notes, and you can check out her writings there. Definitely recommended. And until next time, Sandy, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, everyone, and there she goes. So, we're just about done here for Computer America. Tune in tomorrow for our All Linux program with Marcel Gagne. Everyone, catch you then. Bye-bye.